Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. I'm not sure if you guys can hear the construction sounds, but sorry if you can. It isn't registering on the input capture audio. So maybe you can hear it. Nice. I'm getting better at the audio settings. If you're new to the channel, hello. My name is Connor. I like to learn about history through YouTube recommendations. But let's do it. All right. I'm saying the intro over and over again does get tedious. Maybe I should just record one and then just like set it. What am I here? 5,722 subs. Thanks guys so much. I love you all. All right. Excuse me. This has been a horrible intro, but yeah, love for you to join the channel. Original link to the video is at the top of the description below. Right below that is a link to the Discord. Love for you to click on that. All you have to do is click on it. Sends right over to Discord. Helps build the community around history I'd like to create in YouTube and Discord. Let's just get started. Let's go.
When you look at the world map, it's immediately obvious how many continents there are and which countries belong to.
So yeah, so 7 is a number, but let's be real with, okay, so continents. I would say there are, Australia is just too big not to call it a continent. I mean, you have to call it a continent. I would say, in my opinion, it can be changed, that Antarctica, North South America should count as one, Africa, Asia, Europe should count as one, and Australia. Right, so Africa, Asia, Europe, Africa, Eurasia, 2, 4. Right, 4 continents.
Which ones? No, it isn't. That's right. That's why we're doing an episode. When you look at the world map, it's immediately obvious how many continents there are and which countries belong to which ones. No, it isn't. That's right. That's why we're doing an episode about it. Welcome to Map Men. We're the men, and here's the map.
I love these guys.
All British primary schools rated at least satisfactory by Ofsted will teach their children that there are 7 continents: Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, Antarctica, North America, and South America. But other countries...
I didn't count Antarctica. No, I did. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4.
Curriculums beg to differ. In parts of Europe, they teach just 6 continents. In Russia and Japan, they teach a different 6 continents. And in South America, they teach just 5 continents. So who should we believe teach a different 6 continents? And in South America, they teach just 5 continents.
I think there should just be 4. Or I'm sure they're going to, I won't pause so much, define a continent, but clearly Africa is connected to the Middle East right here. If you're going to call North and South America one continent, how can you not call Europe and Asia one continent? And if you're going to call, same goes with if you're going to call North and South America a continent, how can you not call Africa and Asia one? And then it comes down to size, which, Greenland isn't that big on a flat map. Still pretty big, though. It just comes down to, what size of a landmass not connected to other landmasses should be considered a continent. And so it can get hazy there. But I think the obvious would be 1, 2, 3, 4.
So who should
Maybe
we believe?
Greenland.
Whom should we believe? Exactly. The most common definition of a continent is a large continuous landmass separated by oceans. I like that definition.
What is
It's exactly
large?
how I imagine a continent. Good for you, Mark. Now take a look at a world map and tell me how many large continuous landmasses are separated by ocean. Great. Australia? 1. North America? It's attached to South America. But the Panama Canal is man-made and definitely not an ocean. Point taken. So all of America? 2. Antarctica? 3. Africa? Africa is only separated from Eurasia by another man-made canal, the Suez, so it doesn't fit the definition. I see. So, Afro-Eurasia. Congratulations! So, according to the most common definition, there should only be 4 continents.
I got
Also,
it.
the largest of these, Afro-Eurasia, contains 86% of the world's population, making it a useless distinction. I don't like this definition anymore. Neither do I. So can we instead use another, more sciencey definition? We can. The reason the Earth's land masses are as spread out as they are is because the tectonic plates that make up the Earth's crust have moved them apart over time, and using the major tectonic plates as our guide to the continents, we get a more even distribution of where they are. Tectonic plates as our guide to the continents, we get a more even distribution of where they are.
Tectonically speaking, North America is separate from South America, Africa is separate from Eurasia, and Antarctica and Australia are separate from everything. Nice and simple.
But on closer inspection, this tectonic definition also has some major issues.
For example, Australia.
And it seems like Latin America would have to be considered a continent.
The country of Australia is this bit, but the tectonic plate, also called Australia, includes Australia and a bit of New Zealand, and half of the island of Papua, which includes both Papua New Guinea and the province of Papua, which is in Indonesia, which is in Asia.
Which is confusing. So to avoid this country-continent muddle, other names for this continent do exist, including Sahul, Meganesia, and Australinia.
Not to be confused with Australasia, an increasingly unfashionable term describing Australia and New Zealand and some but not all of the Pacific Islands, so we're not going to mention it again.
So then, what continent does New Zealand?
I'm going to close this window. You can probably hear that. Okay. I believe you. Oh no, the hat. Okay.
New Zealand belong to? By both our definitions so far, none.
Describing Australia.
I know New Zealand is on a very, like the areas, the ocean floor around New Zealand is pretty shallow, and you can almost see if like the sea levels were down a few, I'm not sure, 100 feet maybe, then that would be a big continent right there.
And Australinia.
Not to be confused with Australasia, an increasingly unfashionable term describing Australia and New Zealand and some but not all of the Pacific Islands, so we're not going to mention it again.
So then, what continent does New Zealand belong to? By both our definitions so far, none.
Good for New Zealand. What's wrong with not belonging to any continent?
Not being able to take part in the Olympics. Because this famous 4-yearly competition to see who can host the best fireworks display is open to every country in the world, its 5 continental rings must somehow include them all.
Each ring represents a different continent. There's Europe, America, Africa, Asia.
And this one represents a broad region.
How did I not know that?
Including Australia, New Zealand, as well as the Micro-Mela and Polynesian countries known as Oceania.
Oceania, its very name meaning the opposite of continent, is not considered one by any strict definition, but it's a popular term, especially for the purpose of making sure no country misses out on being incontinent. Only Antarctica doesn't get an Olympic ring because it's too cold to host a fireworks display.
No.
The tectonic and Olympic approaches could be easily combined, including both Antarctica and Oceania, giving us a nice problem-free 6 continents.
Except it's not problem-free.
No.
The tectonic and Olympic approaches could be easily combined, including both Antarctica and Oceania, giving us a nice problem-free 6 continents.
Except it's not problem-free at all. We need to talk about Europe.
I don't like
Whether
that.
part of a landmass or a tectonic plate, Europe...
I mean, this is the most obvious, like, how it... If you're going to cut 7 to 6, and you gotta make one, it clearly means Europe should be part of Asia. This is the one that is strangest. I think it's separated by the Ural Mountains and the Caspian Sea, but...
appears to be nothing more than a glorified Asian peninsula.
Right.
So, what actually is Europe?
Can it really be possible that the home of the continental breakfast isn't even a continent at all? And if so, what do we call that breakfast other than disappointing?
Which brings us to a third element to consider in the definition of a continent: culture. Knowing which continent a country's in immediately tells you something about what it's like.
And because Norway has more in common with Sweden when it comes to language, religion, ethnicity and favourite cutlery than it does with, say, Vietnam, a line is helpfully drawn here, breaking Eurasia up into 2 bits. But complicated culture can't be conveniently cut into clear categories.
Some countries cause tremendous headaches for this dividing line.
First, Armenia, a country which, with a 95% Christian population, arguably falls in the Europe category, but geographically belongs to Asia. And speaking as someone who's a 32nd Armenian, where do you think these eyebrows come from, I can confirm I have no idea what continent it should be in.
The second problem country is Turkey, which incessantly prides itself on being an Asian-European hybrid.
Food?
Asia.
Trading partners?
Europe.
Religion?
Asia.
Writing system?
Europe.
This leaves the dividing line with no option but to split Turkey's largest city, Istanbul, straight down the middle, misleadingly suggesting that the populations either side of the Straits of Bosphorus are somehow totally different from one another.
One way of solving the problem of where the line goes is to insist that it doesn't exist.
Which is the approach taken by Russia, which should come as no surprise because it's in
I don't like the cultural approach to arguments. I don't think that continents or geography has anything to do with culture or ethnicity or I think taking humans out of it, if humans were a race on the planet, I still think that if we were counting the number of continents, it would be the same number.
Russia's interest to view Eurasia as a single
I get that this is they're explaining why these kind of are the cutoffs.
continent.
If it's divided, that the line goes is to insist that it doesn't exist.
Which is the approach taken by Russia, which should come as no surprise because it's in Russia's interest to view Eurasia as a single continent.
If it's divided, that might make people think they're different from each other.
And when people think they're different, they like to talk about things like independence.
To make matters messier, some European countries have significant territories in other continents. The largest part of Denmark is officially in North America.
And France, with dozens of overseas territories, has put bits of Europe in Africa, Oceania, both Americas and Antarctica.
Perhaps the best example of the difficulty of pinning down what is and isn't Europe can be found in the insufferable Eurovision Song Contest.
Insufferably fabulous. In its first year, just 7 very European countries took to the stage. Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Switzerland and West Germany.
But with more countries wanting to get in on the pop-tastic action, this quickly expanded, adding transcontinental Russia, dubiously European Georgia, Asia's Israel, Africa's Morocco, eventually giving up the geographical facade altogether with Australia's Australia. What Eurovision demonstrates quite well is that continents are all about politics.
What's going
Every
on?
continent now has some form of political and economic union. There's Mercosur, the African Union, ASEAN, and of course the EU.
But these organisations are rarely drawn on the same lines as the continents themselves. Despite the number of people who confused Britain leaving the EU with Britain leaving Europe, it remains something which, tectonically speaking, we can't actually have a referendum on. The underlying question remains something which
Vote only once by putting a cross, X, in the box next to your choice. Should Britain leave Europe? As in physically be cut out with an enormous pair of scissors, of space scissors, and relocated thousands of miles away in the Gulf of Aden? Come over to America. We'd love you. Don't worry about the details. Figure that out later.
tectonically
Yes.
speaking, we can't actually have a referendum on. The underlying question in all of this is, why does it matter how many continents there are? Should we even care which one we belong to?
Well, no, not really. What the continents really represent is a human desire to use broad generalizations to categorize
I was
the
going to
world
say this. You could, with that argument of culture, you could separate Mexico and the United States and say they're not the same continent, which they clearly are.
into arbitrary subdivisions.
So whether it's 7, 5, or even 6 continents, these subdivisions will remain as useful as they are argued about.
Are you really a 32nd Armenian?
Yes.
Because I'm a 23rd Hawaiian.
Are you really?
No.
Are you really?
Hello. Bonjour. With travel restrictions coming to an end, we'll soon be allowed to go on holiday again.
Les restrictions pour voyager sont bientôt terminées. Nous allons pouvoir enfin partir.
Speak American, damn it. I can't understand
Les
you.
restrictions pour voyager sont bientôt terminées. Nous allons pouvoir enfin partir en vacances.
So there's never been a better time to
I think I've told this story before, and I don't know if many people are watching at this point anyway, but I was in, so when it was 2018, I was in France, my dad and brother, we were at a restaurant, and I had to go to the bathroom, and so I had to go and ask, and I assumed everyone in there spoke French and didn't speak English. Not many people we encountered did speak English. And I go up to the bartender, and I look very much an American. Like, I have, like, this Patagonia or whatever, and, like, these, khaki, blue shorts and the high-top socks and whatever. And I'm like Palais Albano or something like that, in a chopped-up way of asking where the bathroom is. And then the guy says in the most, in a perfect English accent, just downstairs to the right. I love how we knew right away, this is someone who's trying to speak French and they're clearly American. Just like we can kind of tell when people speak English who aren't native speakers, how it sounds different. I just thought that was funny and interesting.
brush up on a foreign language.
Marc ne parle pas français, alors je peux dire ce que je veux.
which is why we've partnered up with Rosetta Stone to help you learn a new language anywhere, anytime on desktop, mobile, or tablet.
I've done that a bunch on like 3 different languages and got like
the
1
Rosetta
page
Stone
in.
approach is to fully immerse you in the language, connecting images to words and sounds like you did as a child.
These guys are great. Whatever helps
This makes
them out,
learning a new
I'll
language
let play.
easy and fun, and ultimately gets you thinking in your new language.
J'ai volé tellement de Sharpie à Marc au cours des 5 dernières années.
And only Rosetta Stone has True Accent, speech recognition software giving instant feedback on your pronunciation to help perfect your accent and sound like a local.
The best way to enjoy Rosetta Stone is with Rosetta Stone Lifetime Unlimited. Full never-ending access to the current app in as many languages as you like, with phrase books, stories, and text at every learning level for the rest of your life.
Click the link in the description
Speak
below.
American,
where Matt
damn
Menus
it.
get a very special offer on all of Rosetta Stone's subscriptions.
I
Best
swear
of all-
to God, if any of you put anything in the comments being like, American, it came from England, I'm going to combust.
the Lifetime Unlimited offer for just £179 for an entire lifetime of immersing yourself
That's
in the
heavy.
languages you want to be
I
great
couldn't
at.
live
Et
that.
vous pouvez utiliser vos nouvelles compétences linguistiques pour en mettre plein la vue à vos amis.
Entonces, haga clic en el enlace en la descripción para comenzar su viaje de aprendizaje un nuevo idioma.
No hay ningún momento como la presente.
Du hast nichts zu verlieren.
Sorry about the lawnmower. What is going on right now? Man. Awesome channel. One of my favorite non-history. Geography is important to history. It's not history, but it's important to it, and I love learning about it. Awesome video. 4 continents, like I said. See you guys next time.